Welcome to Task 3.2, Recommended Hardware Specifications. In this section, we're going to be talking about the system requirements. So this section outlines recommended hardware requirements based on your program of study. So if you go to apdesign.ksu.edu/cns/purchase-a-pc, you should get to this link here, or this page here, called Recommended Computer. And actually this URL should technically read Recommended Computer instead of Purchase a PC. I did put in the request to change it, but it hasn't been done yet. So if you try to go to purchasing a PC a little bit later and you don't get to the link, what you might want to do instead is just go straight to the CNS's website, apdesign.ksu.edu/CNS. And then on the left side, this purchasing a PC link might be changed to Recommended Computer. So it could look something like this. So look for both of them. I don't know when the change will occur, but for now it's in the old naming scheme. Anyways, once you get to this page, you should see several links here. The first one is architecture. So if you are going into the Department of Architecture, you would want to click on this link, and if you get to that link, this is what it will look like. I'm going to navigate back. If you're going into environmental design, so this is where you are first year and you're just starting at the College of Architecture Planning and Design. You haven't chose architecture, interior, regional, master's, or PhD yet. You're just starting. Chances are you've just graduated from high school, or maybe you're just transferring from another major. You'll be going into the environmental design program. And if you are, they don't really use too much computers in their design process for that first year. But as you can see here, it is recommended to purchase something to write papers. Many students say that they purchased a really cheap printer just to get them through that first year to print out papers and such, because you'll have to do a lot of writing if you're taking English Composition 1 or English Comp 2 or things like that. So if that is the case, I guess it's called expository writing 1, expository writing 2. I'm not sure what they call it today. But if you are taking a lot of writing courses and you're finding you're having to write a lot of papers, then having kind of a cheap printer just to get you through that first year might be useful to you. And having a tablet, lots of students like having a tablet just for that first year, because you're not going to do too much graphic work, but you will write a lot of papers and do a lot of research on the web. So they found that this is helpful just to be mobile. And it doesn't need to be a really fancy computer. It can be something cheap just to get you through that first year. And if you take good care of the computer, it'll probably last you a long time. Alright, moving on to environmental design and planning for the PhD students. We don't have a link for this group, and the reason why is because chances are the work that you're doing is going to closely mimic one of these other groups, and if that's the case, then it's recommended to choose one of these others. So for example, if your PhD work is kind of very similar to what a landscape architect might do, then you would go with the landscape architect's computer configuration. The next one underneath that, see here we have some formatting issues, is interior architecture and product design. So if you click on that one, you should see this page here. And a lot of the specifications are very, very similar. We have landscape architecture, so this is theirs. And some of the information, especially towards the bottom, might be slightly different, so definitely pay attention to your program of study. And this one is the planners, regional community planning. So if you're going into planning, this is yours. So let us pretend that we are regional community planners, and we're going to go into regional community planning. So what we see here is the recommended hardware requirements. And what this basically means is it doesn't mean that you have to have a Dell XPS 13-inch laptop. What it is saying is that you should have something that is equivalent to this, and if you don't have it, maybe purchasing this type of computer might be close to what you need, or finding something that is equivalent to that. So processor wise, looks like we're looking at an i-Core 5 dual with hyper-threading 2.3 gigahertz. If it's not exactly 2.3 gigahertz, it's not like you're going to fail through the curriculum or anything like that. So something pretty close to this with says 2.8 gigahertz boost. I'm not necessarily sure that you really need a 2.8 gigahertz boost, but if it comes with it, that's fine. A lot of these specs here that you see in this list is based off of this model computer, and this is why I'm kind of walking you through this. It's definitely recommended to have Windows 10 Pro 64-bit, especially if you're new incoming in your second year. If you're third, fourth, or fifth year, it's not required. You could have Windows 8 or Windows 7 and you'll function just fine. But if you are new incoming second year, we highly recommend that you come in with Windows 10 Pro. Now let's just say that you're coming in with an old computer, one that's maybe 1 or 2 years old, and you don't have Windows 10, and that's perfectly fine. But keep in mind that Microsoft tends to have a lifespan on their products, so just expect that sometime during your education they may decide to not support Windows 7 anymore and discontinue it, meaning that they won't release security patches for it anymore. And if that's the case, you will not be able to have it on the network anymore, so that's something to take under consideration. The next bit of information here is 8 gigabytes of RAM. So I definitely recommend a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM. I would go higher if you can afford it, but it's not really needed at this point in time. The next item is a 256 gigabyte solid state drive or larger capacity. Now, do you have to have a solid state drive? No, you don't have to have a solid state drive, but I don't recommend going with anything that is slower than 7200 RPMs. If you get a computer that only has a 5400 RPM hard drive, you'll be constantly waiting on your computer, and you kind of put your classmates behind while the rest of the class is waiting on your computer. The next one is 13.3 FHD Infinity Edge display. So this likely has to do with a monitor or the screen that comes with the laptop. Now, if you don't want a 13-inch and you want a 15 or a 17, that's perfectly fine. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to be like it's not going to fit on your desk or it's not going to work in the lab. If you get a larger computer, that's fine. Just keep in mind that the larger the screen size, the heavier the machine will be. The next one is very, very critical, and this is the Pro Support Plus. And what this basically is let's just say, for example, your LCD panel on your laptop dies. Like during week 3 for whatever reason. Maybe it's a defect in the computer. These kind of things happen. And if that's the case, you don't want to have to go without a computer the entire semester. You want to be able to call someone and have that someone come out to your workspace and repair the problem as soon as possible. And that's what this Dell 4-year Pro Plus 7x24 technical support with next business day on-site service means. It means that a Dell certified technician will come to your studio space or workspace, wherever your computer resides, and will remedy this problem. Now, a lot of people tend to not like this because it drives up the price of the computer. And from someone such as myself, who is pretty tech savvy and I do know how to work on my own computer, I will tell you that this is extremely valuable, because when you are in studio working, and I have been in that place, I do have a degree, a design degree, and I did go to the College of Architecture, Planning, and Design to receive that design degree. You're not going to have time to play techie. You're going to have projects due every week. You just don't have time to fiddle with your computer. I mean, every hour, every minute counts, so you don't want to waste any time. And with that being the case, having someone to be able to come out and fix your computer while you're working on your design project is tremendously valuable. So if you are kind of a techie person like myself, you have to kind of think, am I going to the College of Architecture to be a computer tech, or am I going there to be a designer? See, it's going to be very kind of inwardly conflicting, but this is just the fact of the situation, the reality of the situation. You're going to have to make a decision. Am I going to spend 2, 3, maybe 4 hours troubleshooting my computer, or will I have someone else do that for me so that I can focus on making my design the best that it could possibly be? Finally, we get down to the unit price, and this is not bad. If you can find something that meets all of these requirements, especially the support portion of it, for less, then by all means, definitely take that path. So if you can find something, let's say, for example, that's $1,100 instead of $1,500, then that's definitely a win-win type of situation. So you're going to want to go with the cheaper one, but just make sure that you do meet a lot of these requirements here. Finally, there is the external monitor that you can connect to your computer, and it doesn't really matter what the size is. So if you want to go larger than a 29, I went with a 34. Again, it's all a matter of what you can afford. So if you can't afford a larger one, then don't go with the larger one. If you can't afford this value here, then definitely go with a 24 or 22 or a 20, whatever you can afford. It doesn't really matter what size this is. This is mostly personal preference. So again, this is for regional community planners. Now, if you're going into interior, landscape, or architecture, the size of the monitor is definitely going to matter, and so is the resolution. And the reason is because a lot of the design applications, such as Revit, has a screen resolution constraint. So definitely pay attention to that. But if you're in regional community planning, this isn't going to matter so much for you since you don't work with a lot of those design applications. You're mostly going to reside in ArcGIS. So down towards the bottom of this page, again, this is for regional community planners. Their particular department has another Canvas course that they would like you to visit and read before going out and purchasing anything. They want to make sure that you're completely informed, that you have all of the information that you need so that you have taken under consideration all of the variables before making purchases. So for example, it may be that you can't afford to purchase all of the software that you need for your first year of study. And they'll give you a little bit of information in here, or at least contact information. You can contact someone where you can prioritize which pieces of applications do I absolutely have to have, and I'm going to spend the most of my time in that first year. And then maybe the second semester I will be able to afford the other applications that I won't spend so much time in. So it's that sort of thing that you may find here in this additional information.